This is a crash course about ecology, which is Unit 4 in our objectives notebook. To start, I'm going to define ecology. It is the branch of biology that deals with the relations of organisms to one another and to their physical surroundings. As you can see, I drew a box which is going to represent the ecosystem. An ecosystem consists of biotic and abiotic factors in organisms. So, biotic factors are things that are living, and abiotic factors are non-living things like water or air. Next, I'm going to talk about species, which are the triangles and the circles and squares that are going to be drawn. So species are groups of organisms that can potentially interbreed to produce fertile offspring. So, for example, all dogs are a species. Next, we're going to talk about population. Population is a group of the same species living in the same place at the same time. So as you can see, the bigger circle surrounding the squares would be a population. Next, the bigger circle surrounding all the different populations is a community, which are different species living in the same place at the same time. So, for example, cats, dogs, and rats would be a community. Those are the biotic factors that form part of an ecosystem. To continue, we're going to talk about the abiotic factors, which are things like rocks and water. They form part of the ecosystem because they provide the biotic factors with inorganic nutrients that they can't obtain themselves. To continue, we're going to talk about the two different types of organisms. In an ecosystem, there are two kinds of organisms. There are the autotrophs and the heterotrophs. Autotrophs are organisms that make their own energy, for example, plants. Whereas on the other hand, heterotrophs are organisms that get energy by consuming other organisms. There are three types of heterotrophs. There are the consumers, there are detritivores, and there are saprotrophs. Sorry, my camera is getting unfocused. I apologize for the time. Well, to continue, consumers are all organisms that feed off other organisms. Next, detritivores are organisms that get energy by consuming decaying waste and products. And lastly, there are the saprotrophs, which are organisms that consume organic matter by external digestion. This means that they secrete the digestive juices, and once whatever they're trying to consume is already broken down, they absorb it back in. An example of consumers are us humans. This is because we need to consume other organisms like cattle or lettuce to get our own energy. An example of detritivores are beetles or dung beetles because they use dung or poop, which is a waste product, to get their energy and food that is necessary for them to live. And lastly, an example of saprotrophs would be fungi. To continue, I'm going to briefly explain the energy transfer through a really simple energy pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid, there are the producers, which is then followed by the first order consumers. And at the very top, there are the second order consumers. The higher the pyramid gets, the more order of consumers there are. Only around 10% of the energy from one step to another is transferred. The rest of the energy is lost as heat or cannot be digested, like bones and hair. For example, producers get their energy from the sun through photosynthesis. For this pyramid, producers, like plants, get 50,000 mj m to the power of negative squared times 0 to the power of negative 1. That's the unit. I'm just going to call it energy for the sake of time. Because only 10% is transferred, or around 10% is transferred, the next step, the first order consumers, only get 70,000 unit of energy. And lastly, because again, only 10% of the energy is transferred to the next step, second order consumers have only got 3,000 unit of energy. What I'm about to explain, I didn't know how to draw, so here have a video of my dog eating the previous papers. It is also very important to note that as the pyramid goes increasing by step from producer to first order to consumer to second order consumer, not only the energy is decreasing, but also the amount of animals and organisms in that step is also decreasing. Because not all of the energy is transferred, there's not enough energy to sustain such a bigger population, so the number of organisms go decreasing as the pyramid goes increasing.